Hello, today I'm going to show you how to create a dynamic PowerPoint activity that your students can do where they can link from one slide to the next. This is going to be something that's very interactive, it's very useful, and it's pretty easy to set up. So first thing we do is we start with a blank PowerPoint slideshow, and I'm going to show you how I would go through this. So I'm going to create a question. Which country do you want to learn about? Or grammatically, about which country do you want to learn, but we're not going to do that. So I'm going to fool around with some settings for a little bit. When I do PowerPoints, I like to make sure that I choose an interesting font, fill up the space with the words. We have all this real estate that we have in the slides, so use it to your advantage. Don't make it small font sizes. So I have the question, and I'm going to give them 4 options. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a shape, and the shape is going to essentially be the button that I'm going to use to kind of link from one slide to another. You can do any shape you want. You got all these options down here. I'm just going to select the one that is rounded rectangle, and I'm going to draw my shape, and it looks pretty good that way. I like to, again, make it a little more rounded, so I have this yellow button that I can click and drag and make it look more like a capsule. It just looks more like a button, and I like that approach. So in this shape, I would type the word Spain. But again, look how small that is. Nobody wants to see it that way. So keep in mind, your students, they like to have things that look visually appealing. And this is real easy stuff to change. So I change the font. I'm going to make the size bigger. I'm going to give it a drop shadow or a text shadow by clicking that. It just makes it pop a little more. And then I'm also going to give it an outline, a white shape outline. I'm going to make the weight 4.15 or 4.25. And then I have my button, but I need 3 other buttons. So now that I have this one ready to go and the way I want it to look, if I just select that shape, hold down Control, I can drag it. If I select both shapes, hold down Control, click and drag. Now I have 4 buttons that are ready to go. And this is me being picky, but if I select these 4 shapes, you can see that over here I have a little bit of space. Over here I have a lot more space. I want it to be centered perfectly because I have OCD. So I'm going to hit Control G once all 4 shapes are selected. That will group them. Then I'm going to go, nope, can't do that. I'm going to align it. If I select Format, Align, Center, now all 4 shapes are in the exact center of the slide, and it looks beautiful. So if I select that shape again, they're still connected. Control Shift G will degroup them. It will make them all individual shapes once again, and now I can click them, and there we go. But we're gonna change them out because I want 4 different options. So we're gonna do Spain, Mexico, Argentina, and Costa Rica. So those are my 4 countries for the students to learn about. And I don't want them to look the same either, so I'm going to change the fill color of each of these to create some variety. And I don't like white backgrounds. Again, this is all me. This is how I operate. So I'm going to put it as a gray background. I don't think I like that either, but we're just going to deal with it. I will, however, add a shadow effect to the shapes, which makes them look, again, more like they're 3-dimensional buttons. Okay, so now I have my question. I have my 4 options. And we're ready to go. So what I want to do is I want to start creating the slides that'll house the information for each of these countries. So once I have selected the first slide by clicking over here on the left, if I hit Control D, that's going to duplicate it. So then I can select the name of their question and 3 of the options. We'll leave Spain there, and I'll just delete them. So now I have Spain. And I would probably put it in the center, and there we go. Make it a little smaller because I don't need it to be that big. Center it again. Nice. So this is where I would put all my information. Probably put some pictures in here, some details about demographically about Spain. I could put even links to videos externally that they can click and learn more about it. Some more interactive parts that can pop up if you want to know more about the capital. We'll click here, and then a box can pop open, and it's a lot of cool stuff you can do. But I'm going to keep this simple. So now that I have a Spain page, I need 3 other pages. So what I just did is I clicked the second slide and then Control D 3 times, which duplicates the slide that I was selecting. So I'll go back to the front slide, Control C on Mexico, go to the 3rd slide, delete Spain, Control V. By the way, Control C and Control V, if you're not using those, you need to learn those shortcuts because that will allow you to save so much time with your copying and pasting. I mean, look how fast I'm flying through this just by doing Control C and Control V. We got to know those. Time savers. So I'm just simply putting my headings for each of these slides. Now that I have Spain, Mexico, Argentina, and Costa Rica, I would fill them with information, but now we got to link them. So go back to the first slide. I'm going to select Spain. I'm going to go to, if I just hit Control K, that will open up this box, the hyperlink box, where I can immediately find what it is that I want to connect. So I'm on slide 1, but I selected the Spain button, which is going to take me to slide 2. So if I select slide 2 in this part and I hit OK, now when I click on Spain in my PowerPoint, it will take me to that specific slide. I'll do the same with Mexico. Select the shape, Control K, slide 3. Select Argentina, Control K, slide 4, and then Costa Rica, Control K, slide 5. Now I have my 4 shapes, and you can see when I hover over them that they turn into a hand, which means you can click it and it will take you to where you want it to go. And that's nice. It takes me to where I need it to be. I will make this a little more interesting here in a second, but I can't go anywhere from here. I can click on the space, which will take me to the next country, but they don't know that. There's no direction for them to do that. So we're going to change that in a second. Actually, we're going to change it right now. So when I design these PowerPoints and I have dynamic things happening, and sometimes that is an issue where if you accidentally click outside of the space where you don't want them to click, it can end the PowerPoint, it can take them to the next slide, and we don't want that. So a way to avoid that is select all of your slides, go to transitions, and then click this button that says on mouse click. So now, if I start my slideshow, by the way, I'm pressing F5 to immediately start it. I can click anywhere and nothing's going to happen. The only time that something is going to happen is when I select that button that will take me to the place where I need it to. So that's great. It's a little boring. I don't like for my PowerPoints to be just cutting from one slide to a next. So make sure, add a transition. We have all of these incredible options for transitions, and some of them are really, really good. I use them pretty much every time I'm transitioning from one slide to a next. And you can get creative and create some neat effects with some of these transitions with overlapping or something appearing as well from one slide to the next. That's a different tutorial. I'm going to do Vortex because I think Vortex looks pretty rad, how you can get from one slide to the next. So that's what I'm going to do. And now I've got some good things going on. What I do want to do though, say like I have a student that selects Spain, they go to the Spain slide, what do they do next? How do they get out of this? What can they do? Well, let's give them an option to learn more about other topics. So I'm going to go to my front slide again. I'm going to select all 4 of these buttons. Oh no, I think I messed that up. Oh no, I'm good. Select all 4 buttons, hit Control C. I selected Control G. I don't know why I did that. Go to my second slide, and I'm going to paste them with Control V. So now I have duplicated those buttons, and they still have the same function. So if I go to Spain, and I see that I have those 4 buttons, they still have the same ability. I can now go to Argentina from Spain. But as we see, that takes up a lot of space, and we don't want that. So if I select all 4 of those shapes, I'm going to make them smaller. First things first, make the font smaller, because I'm going to resize the buttons. Nice, and now they're all the same size. They look great. I'm going to click and drag, create some space in between them. Smart guides are going to be wonderful if you've never used smart guides on PowerPoint to see how all these lines are popping up, create equal space. So these are all lined up. They're spaced evenly. Centering it is going to be a little bit of a challenge because you don't want to group them and center them because they will lose their ability or their animation properties, and you don't want that, or the link properties as well. So whenever you group things, all those things that you've done to the shape will go away. So I now have 4 buttons at the bottom, and I still have a lot of space where I can fill some good information about Spain. So if I select those 4 shapes, copy, go to my next 3 slides, bam, I have now created a way to get from one slide to every slide just by clicking these shapes at the bottom. That's a good way to do it. You can also, additionally, if I wanted to put another button, for example, on Spain, and just pretend that this says, I'll type it in, end. That looks bad because there's not enough space. Make the font smaller. You can create a way to end your slideshow by doing a different kind of link. if you go to insert and you go to action instead of a hyperlink, you can then say, what does it do? Hyperlink to, and then you have all these options and show. Okay, so pretend this looks better than it does as a button. And if I go to Spain and I see that this is my slide where I'm reading information and I want to be done with the PowerPoint, all I have to do is click end and it's done. It goes away. So it's a real quick, cool way to end your PowerPoint slideshow. But that's pretty much it. I use this a lot for when I'm doing activities where I have two different things going on that I want students to do. For example, I'll put a button that says person A and a button that says person B, and then the students will select, who they are you A or B, and then they'll both see something different on their screen, and it'll be like a conversation practice back and forth. It could be a verb conjugation practice where they're helping each other verify these verbs and learn them. And it's a great tool for students to use when they're working together. Now, because of COVID protocols, maybe that's not something you want right now, but there are many ways you can use this linking around and getting from one slide to the next. And that's pretty much it. So fool around with it, learn how to use this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Best of luck.